There should really be a movie made about William Tyndale. This is an adventure story. This is not the story of some scholar, ivory tower theologian. Tyndale had a singular desire, and that singular desire was to see the Word of God available in the native language of his people. These folks did not have the Word of God available to them. It was only in Latin. And so few people could read Latin. Even many of the priests didn't know Latin. This was a time in the church when there was simply not access to the Word of God. And without access to the Word of God, we simply will not hear the gospel and we will not know the gospel. And this was what Tyndale wanted. But this was against the law. In fact, it was a law that was punishable by death. And so Tyndale realized that he could not do this in England. So he leaves England and he goes to Germany, and he ends up in the city of Mainz. Now, the city of Mainz has a rich history in printing because that's where the very first printing press was set up by Johannes Gutenberg. And of course, the first book to come off of Gutenberg's press was the Bible. It was the Bible in Latin, but it was the Gutenberg Bible. And so Tyndale went there to print the Bible in English. Now, he went there, he assumed a false name so he could sort of be under the radar. And he gathered just a few people to work on this project with him and a printer that he could trust. And they would do their work during the day, and they would do their normal things that would sort of pay the bills as a printer and keep the shop open. Then they would all go home, and in the evening hours, they would all sort of quietly make their way back to the shop. And overnight, they would work on printing the Bible in English. Now, one of them betrayed Tyndale and turned Tyndale over to the authorities. And so this is like straight out of an adventure story. And the authorities are coming. This person had a change of mind, having turned in Tyndale. And as he tipped off the authorities, he also gave Tyndale a warning that the authorities were coming from him. And Tyndale gathered up as many of the pages as he could. He had only made it into the first few chapters of Matthew. He had gathered up the few pages that were printed, bundles them up in his satchel, and runs out the back door of the printing press, of the print shop, literally as the authorities are coming in. He ends up going to the city of Wittenberg. He is associated with Luther and learns from Luther. But his commitment is to printing the Word of God in English. And God blessed his efforts, and he succeeded in that. And we have the Tyndale New Testament. And the fascinating thing about that is that probably 85% of the King James text is the Tyndale text. And of course, all of the English texts since then have come back to the King James as their base. So as we sit today and read our different versions, like the English Standard Version, for instance, we need to remember this debt that we owe to William Tyndale. He eventually was caught, and he eventually was martyred for his commitment to see the Word of God in English. He's sometimes called God's outlaw, and that's what Tyndale was.